All right, let's have a look at a pretty unique Unix command called diff. Diff is a tool that allows you to compare the differences between two files. Usually, in my experience, you're comparing two different text files, and that can be quite helpful in I think typically people would probably use this for comparing two different scripts or code samples of code to see perhaps which is the more modern or what's been changed. Today, I'm going to use it to help me solve a problem that I recently ran into where I have these two hard drives that I recently acquired. They have files on them that were copied on here by somebody else, so I'm not super familiar with what's on here, but what I do know is they both appear to contain what looks to be a very similar list of files. Oops, that's the wrong one. They appear to have a very similar list of files, but I don't think they're exactly the same. These are pretty large collection, I think. Let's see here. It's about 1.4 terabytes of video recordings that are stored on this drive, and the folder that's on this drive appears to have the same information in it. Let's do a get info on that one, and it is, yes, 1.4 terabytes, and you can see it's almost 56,000 items. However, when you compare the actual byte size between the two different drives, they're not exactly the same. One of them is missing some files. So somewhere in this collection of 55,000 files, we have some missing files in one of these volumes. So we're going to use the diff command to help us figure out which ones are missing. All right, so let's bring up, that's the manual for the diff command, which we were just looking at, but we don't really need that right now, so I'm going to clear that out. And we're going to do the same thing we did before. What I'm going to do is get a text file, a listing of all the files that are in this drive, or actually the particular folder in this drive that we're interested in, and then all the files that are in this. We're going to do a text file that is a listing of all the files that are in this, and then we'll compare the two and see how that looks. So the first thing I'm going to do is change directories to the volume that is the cold archive, and then we'll do a list and see what's in there. And this is the folder that I believe contains essentially a duplicate of what's on this drive, but not 100%. So I'm going to do a list command, and I'm going to do a -R to be recursive to show me everything that's inside there. If I was just to say list archive, it'll show me the list of all the different folders, which is mostly useful, but what I'm really interested in is not seeing just the list of the folders, but I want to see recursively what's inside of each of the folders as I'm listing them out. So I'm going to do that with list, and I'm going to add the option R to get a recursive list. And now you can see those are the 55,000 files flying by, and it's the individual folders listed along with their individual files. Not super helpful. Of course, I can't read it that fast, so that's not even helpful. But even so, just having it listed to the terminal is somewhat useful, but it would be more useful if this list of files here went to a text file that we can then do use as one of our source files to compare. So we're going to do the same command, but this time I'm going to take the output of that command, and rather than send it to the terminal, we're going to send it to a file on the desktop. So I'm going to send that. I'm going to change the output to be a file on the desktop called hdd3, and we'll just call this 01.txt, and that should do it. This will take a little bit because it is processing quite a few files and organizing them, so it's quite a bit of work. You can see text file got created, but it is still filling out all the details. The command, we haven't seen the prompt come back here, so that means the command is still running in the background. Oh, looks like it's done. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing to HDD3. So I'm going to CD there, and then I'm going to say ls, where am I? I want to CD to my volume so I can see just the various drives. And I just want to do that same command of just that whole drive. Because again, if I list the HDD3, those are the same folders, or it looks to be the same folders anyway. So we're going to list that. And again, I'm going to put in the minus capital R for the recursive, and where it will list the individual directories and their contents. And again, we will take the output of that, send it to the desktop as well, and we'll call that hdd3-02.txt. That looks good. And the files, again, has shown up on the desktop, but it's still being written to. While that's writing to it, let's have a peek at the other one. Oh. All right, so again, that looks like that same list of files that we saw on the terminal earlier. Not super useful by itself, but we're gonna change that. And it looks like the second version is complete. So same thing, very similar. All right. So what we can do is just run a diff command. First of all, I'm going to change directory to the desktop, so that'll make this a little bit more convenient. And list what's on my desktop, where these are the two text files that we want to compare right there, HDD3.1 and 2. So let's diff HDD3.1 and HDD3.2 and see what they look like. Oh, there's definitely a comparison. Not super useful for a couple of reasons. A, it's on the output to the terminal window, and B, I can barely make sense of that. So let's do a manual of the diff command and see what kind of options might be available to help us make more sense of the output. And I'm going to scroll through here, and a lot of these have to do with processing like files. Anything you come across as a text file. What I want to do is I'm interested in this one command right here called Y, or not command, rather the option, which will do the output side by side. And I think that's going to do the job. So let's hit the up arrow. I'm going to diff. I'm going to add the -y to that output and see what it looks like. There it is. So it shows me the list of individual directories, what's in that directory. The left column corresponds to one file and the right column corresponds to the other file. So it makes that, the two column layout makes it pretty easy to decipher what the differences might be. Wait, hang on a minute, what's going on there? Okay. So you notice there's a big blank hole on this side, and there are some files on the right side. There are files on this drive that are not on that one. And this is going to be very helpful. It's showing me with the greater than symbol that it's using that to indicate there's something missing there. However, these files I'm not particularly concerned about. This is just some Mac OS X under the hood stuff for drawing icons and volume settings, that sort of thing. It's not video recordings or PowerPoint files or anything. Probably not anything I really need to worry about. But it's also very, very small, and I'm pretty sure there's some other stuff missing here. But again, it's a pretty huge list. So I think, again, going to the terminal, having the output to the terminal wasn't super helpful. So Let's run that same command again, and just like we used the output to create these text files, we're going to take the output of the diff and create yet another text file. So I'm going to output that, use that command output to the desktop. I don't really have to type this since I'm already at the desktop, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to call it hdd3-diff.text. And I think that's going to work. There it is. So there's the same output in a text file. And, why is it? I just want to make that window a little bigger. Thank you. And I can scroll through here. And again, recalling back on the terminal, that greater than symbol precedes anytime it sees something missing from one side or the other. So I'm going to search for that greater than symbol, and I think that's going to help me find what's missing. So there's the greater than symbol. There are apparently 31 instances of the greater than symbol. The volume settings folder, we already knew about that. So this is just in the list of folders. Let's go to the next one and see if we got something else. There we go. Apparently on one of the drives is a folder called ASUO computer old / desktop something something something, and there are some media recordings in a folder called 7.4 edit, it looks like. There, so let's go check that out. So here, where's ASUO, what was it called? ASUO computer old desktop. And there's new folder 7.4. Let's go to this other one. Is this it here? It is. ASU old, what was it? ASUO computer old desktop, new folder, and look at that. There is a folder here called 7.4, which appears to have some audio recordings, not much else, mostly just some MP4 files, but who knows, those might be critical, and they don't exist on that one. So you can see in fairly short order, this Unix command diff helped us go through 55,000 files and find the handful of missing MP3s that were in one of the drives and not in the other. So what I'll do is figure out which one of these it connects to. It's the archive one there, so I can safely delete this folder and know that I've got the others elsewhere. Great. Thanks for watching.